Welcome to LightScalpel's Performance Management Training. When most people think of performance management, the first thing they experience is either nausea or pain. Performance management has a reputation of being uncomfortable, painful, bureaucratic, and more effort than value. This might be the reason large companies are opting for additional meetings over performance reviews. LightScalpel, like many other companies, has attempted performance management in the past. Just like many other companies, however, the process was sporadic at best and harmful at worst. For over 30 years, I've worked with managers on performance management, and the one thing they all have in common is a hatred for the process. So many years ago, I set out to design a system that wasn't painful or required a great deal of work from the manager. Some work, of course, cannot be eliminated. As a manager, measuring performance is one of your most important responsibilities. This training program will walk you through a holistic view of performance management and introduce you to a new system with the goals of improving employee performance. And also, it's easy to use. I want this system to work for us here at LightScalpel for years to come. And to ensure this isn't just another program of the month and instill durability into the process, it's important to understand that performance management is part of a larger system that I call the productivity pyramid. The pyramid consists of accurate job descriptions, market-based merit pay systems, and of course, performance management. The three legs together serve as a strong basis for building cultural change. If any one of these elements is missing, the companies will be unsuccessful in creating sustainable growth. Even at LightScalpel, more than a decade has gone by since we started and still struggle with revenue, job stasis, and other success-limiting challenges. This program is different from any other performance management program that you may have experienced. The purpose of this training is to enable each manager to fully understand why performance management is part of their job and to make it as easy to do as possible. One of the first things required for measuring performance is an accurate job description. If an employee isn't clear about what they're supposed to be doing, you really can't fault them for not doing it. Job codes and pay grades are part of the job description that informs you about pay and promotion capabilities. These are tied directly to the LaserPay system. LaserPay serves as both a compensation tool and as a career development ladder. No performance measurement can be valid if you don't have clear expectations of what the performance should look like. Performance expectations give us a benchmark to compare performance with. For example, if the performance expectation for a distinguished level of performance is 20 widgets per hour and an employee only reaches 5, it's easy to tell that their performance needs improvement. But if the standard doesn't exist, is 5 widgets per hour good or bad? Well, nobody can tell. Developing employees is easier and cheaper than hiring new employees. If you have a successful employee, creating an individual development plan to help them grow and develop provides another performance management tool. For employees who aren't as successful as you'd like, a performance improvement plan will help either improve their performance or make it clear that they're in the wrong job. We'll be talking about goal setting in this program. Many of you have heard of SMART goals, and that's what we'll be using. But we'll be adding an ER to the SMART goal. The ER is to evaluate and revise or reaffirm the goal. It's the longer-term view of goal setting. And finally, if you've never held a performance review meeting, there is a good way to do them, and there are millions of bad ways to do them. We'll be covering the best way that I know how, and my results based on management feedback have been pretty positive. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Job descriptions form the base level of the productivity pyramid. Job descriptions should be tied to the U.S. Department of Labor's nationwide database to ensure consistency for the following reasons: to recruit the right people to fill our open positions, to have a standard with which to evaluate employee productivity and performance, to protect the company from legal challenges. to have a tool with which to identify top performers and working on ways to retain them. Using this tool, I've needed to have a process for identifying and managing the bottom performers. While we may call a job, for example, a laser tube assembler, there is no such title in the rest of the world, so I had to have standard job titles and descriptions so that I could benchmark and evaluate one job against another to create a fair compensation structure. I know that someday Peter wants to retire from the company and do other things. Succession planning can't be done without a paper trail that begins with job descriptions. In a small company like ours, you could stay in one job for a very long time. So how does an employee advance in pay or get promoted when there's nowhere to go? I'm going to help you in career development planning, and that requires knowing what an employee has done based on the job description. And I've learned from example that some of our best employees need training in basic things like Microsoft Excel to do their jobs efficiently. That knowledge came from creating a standard job description. So for all of these reasons and others, like light duty assignments, discrimination claims, and more, job descriptions are essential tools. And that's why it was one of the first things that I addressed when I began here at LightScalpel. So that's all I want to say about job descriptions right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the overall process so you have an understanding of where job descriptions, compensation, career development, and performance management fit together in the process. So what exactly did the LaserPay process look like? Well, as I mentioned, I started with creating and updating job descriptions. We then evaluated all of our jobs, every single one of them, against the market to conduct a salary survey. Developing the structure, utilizing job families and job tracks, helped make career paths visible. During this process, we heavily engaged our management team and used their feedback to modify the structure. We then created salary ranges based on the market data and communicated the results of the program in a phased approach, giving nearly everyone in the company a salary adjustment as a result. So that summarizes the process that we went through. Now let's go to the next slide to take a look at the actual LaserPay format itself. We call this the LaserPay framework. In this slide, you can see the LaserPay compensation and career progression framework. Each job fits into a job family. Each job family has a code. Production and operations, for example, is designated by a W. Business support functions are symbolized by the letter U, and so on. These designators come from a consulting firm called Towers Watson and are completely arbitrary. Their job is to separate each job family with a designated code. Each job family has a scale of pay grades, beginning with level 1. You'll notice that each pay range ends up either as a lead or supervisor position or in the director position. If you stay in the same job for 20 years, your income will increase and you'll stay in the same job family. You may also be promoted, demoted, or transferred from one job family to another. Let's use the example of a mechanical assembler who gets a college degree in computer programming. As a mechanical assembler, the employee's job family is production and operations, again here designated with a W. If we move the employee into technical support for an IT position, his or her job family changes to technical support, which is designated with a T. There is a jump in pay between production and operations and technical support. So typically, when we move this employee from a W to a T, they'll be placed in T1, the lowest level of that job family. Of course, we take the employee's current rate of pay into account. A lead or supervisor moving from W to T may have to be treated in one of three ways. First, we might want to adjust the employee's pay to match the pay scale for T1. We might also keep the employee at the current rate of pay until they can meet the requirements for T1 based on the job description. And if we feel that the knowledge, skills, and abilities of the employee are satisfactory, we might move them immediately into T2 at the time of the promotion. The key here is flexibility that is built into this system to accommodate business decision making. The key in its success is consistency. Understand from looking at this model How the job families and pay ranges follow this framework. Managers can use this system for deciding how to reward employees and how to develop them further along their career. In later training, managers will learn to budget for these activities in their department. Over time, we'll define exactly what makes an employee a level 1 or a level 2, or maybe even a level 3. But before we can do that, we need to learn about competencies, and that training will come later. So let's take a closer look at how LaserPay is structured. Every job in the company belongs to a job family. As we've said earlier, we've classified jobs like assemblers, tube techs, and warehouse operations into production operations, which we designated with a W. Now, a job family is simply a broad functional area used for organizing jobs into categories that we use for job maintenance, compensation planning, performance management, and competency modeling. Next, each job has a job title. Now, every company calls this job something, but the same job in two companies might have two different names or the same name and different jobs. This makes comparing the two practically impossible. For example, in one company, a warehouse clerk might package outgoing and unpack incoming product. In another company, a warehouse clerk might drive a forklift and stack products on shelves. Different jobs with the same job title make it tough to do a job analysis. For that reason, the U.S. Department of Labor aggregates job titles and activities into a standardized format. Much of the work on job descriptions was adapting our existing job titles to the standardized titles from the Department of Labor. Each standardized job title has a job number, which is known as the job code, and I include this on job descriptions because when a job changes, the description changes too. The job grade is a system used to group jobs together that have approximately the same relative internal worth and are paid in the same pay range. Progress is usually from a lower level in a job family to a higher level in the same job family, or alternatively, a move from one family at a job grade and pay grade to another job family with a new job and a new pay grade. Let's take a look at an example of using salary ranges. Let's assume an employee new to a position without any experience or very little experience performing the job. They should expect to come into the job closer to the lower end of the range. As an employee becomes more experienced, he or she will move higher in the range. Salary ranges overlap to allow for equity between an inexperienced employee in a higher grade to be paid at the same level as an experienced employee in a lower grade. At the lower levels of the organization, when an employee is promoted, he or she will see a 2-grade jump, grade 1 to 3, because there's a greater skill set leap at the lower levels. Let's say Sally is a grade 1 data entry clerk making $24,500 a year. She accepts a new position as an administrative assistant at grade 3. Sally has some of the skills and experience needed for her new role, but she's still pretty inexperienced. Sally's brought into the new position at $26,000. She's still below the midpoint, indicating that she will not start on day one fully functioning in that position, but has some of the skills necessary to make an impact right away. Lightscapel had a fairly consistent and fairly applied compensation process before I got here. They were in compliance, legally speaking, but it did not include career development, and many employees were unhappy with the process. Today, the LaserPay system is ensuring that employees are paid fairly according to current market rates and includes opportunities for a person to stay in the same job for a long time and continue to receive merit increases based on performance. Career development means either an increase in pay for an existing job or promotion to a new job with higher pay. And finally, We're proud to explain the benefits of the LaserPay program to our employees with the understanding that their career development choices are at the top of the list. Some of our other benefits of the LaserPay system include having accurate job titles that reflect the work done on a daily basis and knowing that the job title and grade map to current market rates in the industry. Well, this ends our discussion on jobs, compensation, and career development. So now that you probably know more than you ever wanted to, let's move on to performance management as a process.